Have you ever felt this? As if an unseen hand is gently pushing you forward, yet you're still afraid to take the step. There are moments when your heart races, your breath quickens. Something inside you says, walk, don't be afraid. But your feet remain frozen where they are, and right at that moment, you are not as alone as you think, because that voice is not always your own. It may be something Allah is reminding you of. Ibn Arabi says, "The courage that rises within the servant is an invitation to draw closer to the truth itself." So if a spark of courage has stirred in your heart, this is not a random feeling, it is a divine call. Because Allah does not give a servant the courage for something they were never meant to face. But wait, there is something very important I need to tell you. At the end of this video, Ibn Arabi reveals a secret about divine courage so profound that if you truly understand it, you may not only change your fears, you may change the direction of your destiny itself. So stay with me, calmly, because everything I share will bring you closer to the door of that secret. Do you know this? Fear is not as powerful as we think. What gives it power is the meaning we assign to it. And sometimes Allah places you right in the center of your fear, not to punish you, but to show you the strength you carry within. You may have forgotten that strength, but it never forgot you. Perhaps you are standing at the edge of a decision right now, a change, a step, a confrontation, a beginning, and deep inside, you know, I cannot continue like this. This is where divine training begins. According to Ibn Arabi, Allah does not discipline His servant with fear, but by reminding them that fear can be passed through. That subtle trembling in your heart, it is not weakness. It is the birth of your courage. And perhaps the transformation you've been waiting for all these years depends on just one thing, that first step. Be at ease. In a moment, I will explain why Allah specifically wants you to be courageous, and why periods when hardships come one after another in a person's life are often a divine message. But first, take a deep breath, because this journey has only just begun. Courage is not a sudden flame that appears out of nowhere. It is more like noticing a spark that has been quietly waiting inside you for a long time. Ibn Arabi says, a servant must recognize the true source of every feeling that arises in the heart. So the courage within you is not mere excitement. It is a call. Yet most people hear this call and immediately retreat, because the life they are used to, the pain they recognize, even the darkness they mistake for safety, feels more comfortable. But Allah does not nourish His servants through comfort. He nourishes them through truth. The disruptions you experience, uncertainty, loss, exhaustion, are often meant to reveal whether the courage in your heart is alive or asleep. Because courage does not only appear in great battles, it lives in speaking one honest word, ending a relationship, knocking on a door, accepting a truth. And maybe you've noticed this too. Recently, things in your life have fallen apart one after another. People left, plans dissolved, hopes were left unfinished. And in that moment, you felt something rise within you. I should not be living like this anymore. This is what Ibn Arabi calls the divine impulse. That sense of being trapped inside is often Allah's way of lifting a servant from where they are, because people rarely change by choice. More often, life forces them to change. Remember this, Allah does not educate you by frightening you. He educates you by leading you through fear. Behind every fear is a wisdom. Behind every uncertainty is an invitation. Perhaps you are still asking, why me? Why does everyone else's life seem smooth while mine is constantly tested? Ibn Arabi answers this clearly. If elevation is written into a servant's destiny, their heart is constricted first, because a heart that tightens can no longer fit into its old shape, and when it no longer fits, it must change. That is why every heartbreak, every cooling, every distance, every closed door has been whispering the same thing to you. Be courageous. You may think your courage is small, but the issue is not how big your courage is. It is when you choose to use it. Sometimes Allah brings a servant to a place where there is no escape. Only two choices remain: to close the heart or to open it. And know this, the moment a servant opens their heart, Allah becomes their breath, their strength, their path. Wherever you are right now, at the foot of which mountain, under which burden, remember this: fear exists not to stop you, but to prepare you. Because when you understand the divine secret I'm about to share, you will realize you were never alone. Your fears were not your enemy. They were your teachers. And perhaps the greatest step you've ever taken is only one sentence away. Sometimes a person cannot explain the storm inside them to anyone, and that, right there, is the quietest form of courage. The inner turmoil is so vast that what appears on the outside is only silence. Ibn Arabi says, "Truth takes form in the servant at the moment they are most silent." Perhaps you've been silent for a long time, fighting unseen battles. Something within you is dissolving, changing, transforming, but you cannot yet name it. This is Allah strengthening His servant from within. Because people often look for courage outside themselves, in success, in others' approval, in words, in miracles. But real courage is born quietly from the inside. One day you notice you don't break as easily anymore. You don't panic like before. You don't cling desperately to what slips away. This is not loss. This is preparation. When Allah intends to lead a servant onto a great path, He first calms their heart. The noise in the mind fades. What once frightened you can no longer dominate you. Ibn Arabi explains it this way: when fear can no longer settle in the heart, divine closeness begins. You are not who you once were, even if you think you are. Yesterday's wounds only make you reflect today. Yesterday's obstacles now move you forward. Yesterday's separation now frees you. This transformation is so quiet that most people never notice it. But Allah knows, and it is enough that you know. Because the clearest sign of courage is no longer wanting to carry inner burdens. If you've asked yourself, "Why am I so tired?" that is where courage begins. Not running from hardship, but seeing its meaning. This is what Ibn Arabi calls insight. Perhaps you've noticed, lately, everything seems to be pushing you toward rebirth. Some people left. There was a reason. Some doors closed. There was wisdom. Some dreams were delayed. There was timing. Because when Allah wants to make a servant courageous, He first cuts their attachment to fear. As this bond dissolves, the servant is drawn inward. This inward turning may look like silence, tears, withdrawal. But do not mistake it for loneliness. It is a call of the soul toward its own truth. And without realizing it, you have already begun answering that call. Because the fact that you are listening to these words now is itself a sign that the transformation has begun. No one encounters such a message by accident. They come because their heart is ready. They hear because their mind is searching. They are moved because their soul has accepted. Now, you are beginning to understand what your courage truly serves. It is not about appearing strong, not about never being afraid. It is about Allah drawing you closer to your destiny. Do not forget, with hardship comes ease.